Yo, today I'm going to talk about competition. I was just riding my motorcycle, exploring, looking for a place with a nice view, and truth be told, I never found it. So I have only a little time before my next appointment, and I'm just gonna decide to make this video. I found this little regional park entrance. I couldn't take the motorcycle on it, of course, but I want to talk to y'all about competition. All right, we're musicians, we're artists. Inherently, like, making art is not a competitive act, but when you go into the professional world and you have to start getting gigs and you have to look in different places for gigs and kind of work with other musicians, there is this level of perceived competition. I say perceived because I think it's not really real. Let me explain a little more. There's a large subset of the musician population who very much believes in competition, very much will only refer you for something or only listen to you if they think you're the best, right? And they'll give you all sorts of examples. They'll give you comparisons to sports and athletes, and they'll justify you needing to be the best for you to get any gig or be professional or work or get their recommendation. But here's the thing. I've never been anywhere near the best. I've never even come within like earshot of the best. I could name you probably 50 drummers off the top of my head who I think are technically massively better than me on drums, on the instrument, skill-wise, right? But there's a significant chunk of those 50 people who've never worked even half as much as I have as a musician. And why is that? Why are they so much better but aren't working as much? There's a great deal of choice. Like, of course, you're only going to play the gigs you want to play when you have that choice. Or if you have a full-time job and drums is your side thing and music's your side thing, you're not going to be able to work as much as a musician. Of course, like, your schedule is going to be limited. That being said, I know many musicians who are full-time musicians that still are not getting the work. And when I was at my peak in terms of working and gigging around the city and gigging and touring and all of this stuff, when I was at my peak of this, I was getting such, like, my schedule was completely full. I was unable to do practically anything else. I was doing a gig almost every day, and then I would have to teach for 4 to 8 hours a day, and then I would have to do private lessons outside of the music school I was teaching at, and then I would still have to get in my training. I'd still have to get in my own practice. I'd still have to deal with my personal life and, handle those things. And I see so many musicians and so many drummers who they have all the skills in the world, but they're not working whatsoever. And I think the reason why is because they prioritize their competition and their skill acquisition over just being good to work with, just being the right person for the opportunity, just being somebody who's willing to work with others, just being someone who's willing to collaborate. When people get overly competitive, it becomes less enjoyable to collaborate with them. I can tell you a story of just one of my mentors, and I won't name names, but one of my past mentors was one of the most competitive people I've ever met, and he was an incredible drummer. Incredible, absolutely incredible. One of the best living today, right? You want to go back in history? Maybe not, but one of the best living today. Yet this person had such a competitive spirit and such a competitive mindset that not only were they not really working, but they were getting so negative about it. They were being so down on everybody else because nobody would give them a gig because they weren't fun to work with. And I see this so many times over and over again with musicians, that they think they can come in and just have this attitude of like, I'm the absolute best. And they think that'll carry them through. But realistically, they would get paid a lot more and they would get way more recurring gigs and recommendations if they were just nice people. Like, yeah, you need to be good. You need to be really good. You need to have your skills. But you also need to be enjoyable to work with. You need to be not miserable to be around. You need to motivate others, right? You need to give them a reason to want to work with you. This is called sales, in a way. You have to get good at sales. You have to get good at selling yourself and the fact that you are the appropriate person for the job. Not just, oh, I have the absolute best skills, because so does everybody else. Everybody in the world has some amazing skill. But you have to be the person who is actually the best fit. And we see this with teachers too, of course, you know? Like, you go for lessons, you're not looking to get the teacher that's just... Sometimes you do look for the teacher who's absolutely the best, but you're more than likely only going to do one lesson with them. When you go for a recurring teacher, somebody who's really going to teach you, or go for when you're looking from the beginning and starting from brand new, you're going to go with the teacher who you trust and you like and you enjoy being around, and they motivate you and they help you get from point A to point B. You're not just going to look for, this guy is the absolute best, but I hate every single second working with them. You know, of course, there's some people who are exceptions to this rule. Some people like to be verbally berated, and that's how they learn. But for the most part, it's a million times more enjoyable, definitely, but it's also probably going to get you further when you work with people that you enjoy working with, and when you learn from people that you enjoy working with, and when the people who are motivating you are actually motivating to listen to and are actually walking the walk and talking the talk. So that's just my quick little thing for today. I don't need to go deep on any more of this, but I think there's so much negativity that comes out of this competitive spirit, when in reality, if you want to get ahead in music, you have to understand the other side of it. The sales, the marketing, the networking, negotiations, the business skills required to actually navigate the daily life of a musician, and not just be the absolute best, because yeah, that'll get you somewhere, but what kind of legacy does it leave when you're, you know, everybody talks about Buddy Rich, famously. Yeah, amazing musician, left a legacy that inspires drummers, for sure. Yeah, no one's denying that and no one's negating that. But everybody will say he was an absolute nightmare to work with, and there's all sorts of negative stories. And then same with Miles Davis, same with like so many of these huge names. Yes, they were absolutely incredible. They made absolutely incredible music, but they are absolutely also exceptions to the rule, because they made the great music first and then they hired people to play it with them, right? If you're looking to get hired by people, you need to be enjoyable to be around, to work with, and you have to have your skills at a very high level. So in my personal opinion, don't just focus on the skills. Yes, it can get you to this legendary status. It can. But do you really want to leave that legacy where the people who talk about you hundreds of years from now go, yeah, but he was like terrible to work with, or she was terrible to work with? Yeah, they're amazing, but you don't want those buts. Like, you just want to be the person that has a positive legacy, who can leave a positive mark, and who can get called back consistently over and over again, which in turn makes you work more, which in turn makes you better, right? There's a sustainable way and there's an unsustainable way. If you want to learn more about the sustainable way while still just maximizing your skill set and becoming the best you can be, go to ProDrummerMethod.com. And also, I just started this new thing, this new challenge, this workout challenge that I've been working on for a few weeks with some friends and coaches and clients. We're doing calisthenics. We're doing weekly group calls, and then I'll be doing one-on-one calls throughout the week as well for whoever schedules. And if you want to be a part of that and hear about the next one that's happening, ProDrummerMethod.com/LLS challenge. Both of those links are going to be below. It's not about competition. It's about getting better together. It's about helping each other build each other up. So click those links. We'll talk soon.